Hi friends. Today we're just going to talk about my favorite products from 2018. Let's get started. Shortest intro ever. So of course, when a new year rolls around, a lot of beauty gurus tend to reflect on their year in review and divulge to everyone what their favorite products of 2018 were. Most of these people are on a lot of PR lists, they get a lot of packages, so they have a lot to choose from, so their list is usually quite expansive. Here on my channel, where PR isn't a thing, I tend to be very selective about things I purchase, so the list isn't very long, and as I tend to try and be a completionist with a lot of my products, I don't end up buying a whole lot of product. Of course, to the average person, I have a pretty expansive makeup collection, but to a YouTuber, it's pretty selective. These are the things I spent hard-earned money on, that I chose myself, that I researched pretty extensively beforehand. So these are things you've probably seen me use a lot over the course of a year on YouTube. However, a friend suggested that this would be a good video for me to do. I tried to grab a couple favorites from every step of my makeup routine. I also tried to create this look with my favorites of the year. By the way, everything I talk about today is going to be a combination of drugstore and high-end products. To me, if it works, it works. A large price tag isn't necessarily going to reflect the quality of a product. Let's start from the very beginning, which is a very good place to start. I'm going to talk first and foremost about skincare. 2018 for me was the year of skincare. It was me trying to figure out what works best for me to combat all of the problems that I have with texture, acne, redness, dark circles, you name it, I have a problem with it. So I ended up doing a lot of trial and error with a lot of products, serums, oils, you name it. But one of the brands that stands out to me as one of the forerunners of drugstore skincare is Pixi. It's not necessarily on the most affordable end of the spectrum. They are sold in drugstores and they are still really affordable in comparison with high-end skincare items. They've been around since 1999. I tried a lot of their line and not everything made the cut. There were hits and misses for me personally. The product I ended up repurchasing all of the time, at least 10 times this year, is the Pixi Glow Tonic. I've tried their Rose Toner as well. The Glow Tonic is formulated with glycolic acid, which is a chemical exfoliant. It's also alcohol free, which is great because alcohol is obviously incredibly drying. This one just ends up leaving my skin feeling very refreshed, not in a like sort of stingy, painful way. My skin always feels really balanced. They also come in giant bottles. This is just one of the travel size ones that I picked up. The second thing I want to talk about from Pixi is something that I've recently picked up because I was going to Calgary, and Calgary is in the prairies, which means it's dry as fuck and cold as fuck. Jumping from the west coast to the prairies so quickly ends up throwing my skin for a loop, and there's usually a period where it just kind of freaks out and needs to acclimatize a little, which usually takes about a week. I decided to throw in an extra step of moisture and hydration in between my toner and my moisturizer just to help expedite the process. I thought what better time to test out the Hydrating Milky Mist from Pixi, which has hyaluronic acid and black oat, and to me, hyaluronic acid is like crack. 2018 was also the year of acids in skincare. Just suddenly they cropped up out of nowhere. When I see a product with hyaluronic acid, which is incredibly hydrating, in spray form, I'm going to be there because I love a good skincare mist. It's a great first layer of moisture if you live in a really dry climate. It's an excellent skin refresher halfway through the day. One of the most like delicious smells. It is soothing as hell. I am certainly going to be repurchasing this. If you have any serum recommendations or oil recommendations for people with combo and acne prone skin, leave a comment down below. Could use the rec. Moving on, I have not included any primers in my favorites video because I still have yet to find like a combination of primers that really work for me. So I've got one foundation and one foundation only that made the cut this year. This foundation has exceeded all my expectations. It has left all the other foundations I tried this year in the dust, and I went through a lot of bottles testing out different ones, drugstore, high-end, and this foundation outperforms the Wet n Wild Cushion foundation, the It Cosmetics CC Cream, which is great, and this also outperforms the CoverGirl Vitalist Elixir foundation, which has been a holy grail of mine for many months. This foundation foundation is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Foundation. I cannot begin to describe how lovely this foundation is. So long wearing, I never have to touch it up. It is moisturizing, but it doesn't leave me a complete grease ball by the end of the day. The texture of this is smooth and it's very silky, but it has this elasticity to it, so it feels kind of like it moves with the contours of your face throughout the day, so you don't end up cracking or sliding around. It feels like a higher end foundation. Formula wise, packaging wise, like this is glass and it's got a pump. They knocked it out of the park with this formula. I've just let all of my other foundations sit in the drawer because I can't stop using it. Only downside, it's not sold in Canada. Drew Barrymore, please bring Flower Beauty to Canada. I swear it'll be worth it. We love your products. Sincerely, Canada. Racked my brain to figure out if there was any concealers this year that really stood out to me, and the answer is no. My standby for drugstore is the Age Rewind from Maybelline, which is good. It's not super crease proof, but it works and it does cancel out my dark circles fairly well, but there's just nothing yet that really has stood out to me as being like tried and true holy grail concealer. And yes, I have tried Shape Tape. Maybe I should try it again. Again, it's not easily found in Canada. I've tried a lot of concealers and I've yet to find one that really speaks to me. So a couple of these things are gonna be not a huge surprise, but the bronzer that I keep coming back to is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer because it's drugstore, it's inexpensive, it's stunning, it's not too orange, and it smells like a vacation. I mean, what more do you want? It's also not completely matte. It does have a little bit of a sheen to it. It gives me this sort of natural sun-kissed skin-like quality that I really like. And I used to think I was a Hoola bronzer girl. Putting these two side by side though, and like digging into how it performs on the face, Hoola bronzer always ends up skipping and patching more than the Physicians Formula one. I think this is formulated with something incredibly hydrating because it doesn't skip. It's just very smooth. It blends perfectly and I never have to like fix it. I've repurchased this tons of times as well, so that's always a testament to something that I really love. As far as cream bronzers go, which I didn't used to use a whole lot, like cream contouring was not really a thing I did. However, Milk makeup has changed that for me. I now use this in my regular routine. I use it as a base, so I go in and contour everything underneath my foundation so that when I get to the bronzing part, there's already something there carved out so I don't have to spend ages building up that bronzer and the contouring powder. And it also like is perfect for when you don't want to wear foundation and you just like want to take a little bit with your finger and just tap it in. It's sheer enough that you can just like put it on bare skin and it'll look natural, and it's pigmented enough that it actually shows up through a layer of foundation. Milk is slowly becoming one of my favorite brands. Now when it comes to blush, this was hard for me because I haven't come across a blush that I don't like. Of course, I love the Tarte Amazonian Clay blushes. I think their formula is amazing long wearing. There's nothing really wrong with them, but their color selection isn't the most revolutionary. I tend to steer more towards unique shades of blush, things that are going to pop, stand out. Blush for me is just one of those things that I love playing with. It adds a touch of whimsy to a look. Once I put on blush, that's the thing that makes me feel pretty. So out of all the things that I've tried this year, I think I have to give a couple shout outs to the Flower Beauty Flower Pots blushes and also the Milani Baked Blush. Both drugstore, both insanely affordable, both absolutely stunning. These blushes are matte, they are pigmented, they are blendable, they are soft, they aren't patchy at all, they don't skip on the skin, and you can just build them up as much as you want. It'll never be overpowering. Again, Drew Barrymore, please bring your brand to Canada. And as you can see, I've already hit pan on Peach Primrose, which is how much I love this blush since I only got them in September. And they just have this beautiful like airiness to the texture and the way it sits on the skin. They fucking rule. The same thing goes for the Milani Baked Blush. Luminoso has won me over completely. I mean, it is an incredibly popular blush in the beauty community because of its affordability and also its beautiful baked luminous formula. It has a stunning peach shade. As much as I like Barrymore, this one just like pops so much more on the skin. It has that amazing gold shift to it that just like gives you this perfect base for your highlighter, which is why I like to use it underneath my highlighter, and it blends your blush and your highlighter perfectly. Ooh, loose setting powders. Now, this has been an ongoing saga for me. Of course, everyone's looking for the perfect baking powder if you bake, which I do under the eyes because it's necessary. I crease the most out of anyone, I think, in the world. It's just one of those things that I require, even if I'm only powdering in the T-zone, I have to do it. And like a lot of them are great, they're not superb, but the only one I've ever repurchased before in my life is the Maybelline Fit Me, which is the loose finishing powder. I think I picked the wrong color this time though, 10 Fair Light. I think I should have picked up 5 Fair, but it's got this really nice yellow undertone, which is perfect for canceling out blue tones. And for the drugstore, you actually like cannot find anything better. It rivals the Too Faced Ethereal Setting Powder, which I do love, but it's pricey, and like why would I use that if I can buy this at the drugstore for half the price? It isn't translucent per se, it's got pigment to it, which is probably why it packs so nicely underneath the eye with a damp sponge. It's a bit heavy if you're using it all over the face. Since it's not quite bright enough for me right now, I've been mixing it with Ben Nye Super White, which surprisingly is another great baking powder. It's a great mixing medium for different powders to brighten things up a bit. I'm actually a huge fan, so. But for all over the skin powder, for that, I definitely would have to recommend the Milk Makeup Blur and Set Loose Setting Powder. I don't like baking with this. It's too finely milled to do the job right, clumping up in weird ways and leaving like my skin looking really patchy. But if you just take a nice big fluffy brush like this one, after you've laid down everything else, this is the perfect last step. Let's talk highlighters. To be honest, I haven't met a highlighter that I didn't like. I could pick up any highlighter in my collection and use it and like it. There's really not a whole lot you can do to screw up a highlighter in my opinion. I mean, there are a couple out there that aren't my favorite, that like are just too glittery or too dark for my complexion. I usually end up sticking pretty close to the drugstore on highlighters just because there's so many good options now at the drugstore that like there's no reason to spend an inordinate amount of money. I have to give credit where credit is due here. I mean, yes, we all know Anastasia makes insane highlighters that you can see from the space station, but there are 2 affordable brands that I need to highlight. One of them being Maybelline. Their Master Chrome collection is insane. I don't understand how this is drugstore, and I never understood how this is drugstore. Molten Rose Gold is actual perfection, and there's not really a whole lot you can do to improve upon this formula. It is metallic, it is beaming, it's the perfect tone, universally flattering. I think it's just like the most stunning highlighter of existence, and like you can build it up so it can be a little more subtle, it can be blinding. It's just perfect. I don't know what else to say about it. The other couple of highlighters that I need to give a shout out to are from Colourpop. Now, Colourpop kind of cornered the market on affordable, trendy makeup that actually works. It's kind of insane how they did that. I don't know. I think it has something to do with them having their own laboratory and being able to just sort of formulate their own products immediately and not spending a whole lot on packaging. I have to give it to Colourpop for formulating 2 amazing and 2 very different types of highlighters. The first one I want to talk about is Super Shock Cheeks. I encountered these very early on when I was just starting out in makeup, and I couldn't have asked for a better introduction to highlighter because these guys are so easy to work with. They're cheap as hell, and they have the most ridiculous payoff. And I've just sort of recently revisited these guys just because like you can't even like deny like how beautiful that is. Plus the formula is so interesting. Anyone who has purchased a Super Shock shadow or a Super Shock cheek before from Colourpop will know that this formula is so unique. It's like got this cushiony, soft, plush feeling, which ends up drying down to a powder, but you can use your finger and just sort of pat it on in the areas that you want to highlight as well if you want a more, again, a more natural glowing from within look. It looks absolutely stunning on bare skin. It's usually what I gravitate toward when I just want to throw on some highlighter and mascara and run to work. It's so effortless. If you want something, however, that you can see from space, I'd say go with Luster Dust. Luster Dust is, as far as I know, witchcraft. This kind of glow should not be possible at this price. All you need is the tiniest bit. This is the shade Strobe Globe. There's something about the reflex in this that just like leave this insanely metallic finish. I'll insert a clip from my Christmas video here where you see I put on the tiniest bit and it's just like kapow. Colourpop kind of killing it. Sorry about everyone else. The one high-end highlighter that I have to address is Fenty Beauty How Many Carats, because this whatever the hell this is magic. I'm wearing this one today on top of Lunch Money, and I don't necessarily know if I would use this just on its own. Layered on top of other highlighters, this thing, it's magic. It's magic. And it's universally flattering on all skin tones. It's super glittery, so if you don't like glitter, don't go anywhere near it. It's just stunning. So we have to just like, we have to give it to Rihanna for a second. Okay. Palettes. I know everybody and their dog released a palette last year, so there are a lot to choose from. And as you know from my series, Get the Most Out of Your Palette, which if you haven't seen, I will link up here and down below. I've been revisiting old palettes and trying my best to use them as much as I can. It's a good way to remind yourself of all the beautiful things that you already have. This year I was really selective with the palettes that I wanted to buy, but I did want to purchase things that I knew I was going to use all of the time, that I was gonna get really creative with, and that I was going to also be able to use in my everyday life. 2 palettes stand out in my opinion. No, 3. 3 palettes stand out this year in my opinion for me. These 2 palettes are the things that like I kept using and kept reusing and went back to time and time again, and still know that I'm not done playing with them because there's just so many options. One of them, of course, and this is a bit unfair because it is a build your own palette, but Sugarpill obviously is some of the best quality eyeshadows out there, especially when it comes to colorful matte eyeshadows. If you're a person who loves color and who uses a lot of it, this is the palette to build. I've now used every single shade in this palette, and I can safely say that I don't need another colorful mattes palette. And these are universal, you can use them for other things. I use a couple of these for blushes, which is what I'm wearing today. They don't grab, they've got a nice texture to them. You can basically use these like paints. You can dip into 2 or 3 of these, make a custom color, and then blend it out, layering certain colors on top of other ones, putting yellow in the crease, and then putting a blue over top will make a green. And you'll see that happening on your eyelid, and it's fucking amazing. Even though building your own custom palette is going to be pricier than picking up a Morphe palette, this thing is going to last you a long time. If you were going to invest in anything, invest in Sugarpill. The second palette is probably one that you've guessed already, and that is the Gemini palette. I can honestly say I've never loved the aesthetic of a palette more in my entire life. I will leave the video where I reviewed the palette up here. Testing this palette out has been so much fun so far. That's the one thing I can say, is that I've had the most fun creating looks with this palette than any other palette this year, just because it's so easy to do. Everything works together. Every single shadow in this palette works with every other single shadow in this palette. This palette is an absolute no-brainer. I'm wearing a lot of the neutrals in my crease today. I blended them out pretty liberally, so it's not like it was rocket science today. Melt makes some pretty spectacular eyeshadows. I want to try way more of their products in the future, so thanks a bunch for ruining my bank account, I guess, Melt. The last one I want to talk about is just a little guy, and it's really cute, and the formula's great, and the price is right. I think Flower Beauty kind of took everyone by surprise when it came out in the market in general, but this baby palette has been perfect for travel. I have taken this with me where I had like an hour of travel time, and I just threw a look together, and this palette was perfect for that. Pretty powdery mattes, but they blend beautifully. They're nice and soft. They again have the perfect sort of warm undertones of the neutrals, and then you've got these really fun, funky pops of color like this green, super fun. I'm wearing this peachy sort of like gold highlight shade on my inner corner and on my brow bone. And honestly, I've used this as a highlight before because it is gorgeous. Oh yeah, and I'm wearing this bronzy shade today on the lid. Oh my God, How can you not love that? It's like a perfect bronze. So easy to build a look with this little palette. It's a great companion palette to other things, and I think it's versatile across a lot of different seasons. Yeah, Drew Barrymore's killing it. As far as eyeliners go this year, I tried a lot. Out of all the ones that I've tried, I definitely will repurchase this one again, just because price-wise, it's right, and the formula is just as good as another higher end liner that I tried this year. The Fenty Fly liner was gorgeous. We all saw it work. It was beautiful. However, it dried out so quickly and it was so expensive that part of me just like will die a little inside if I have to repurchase it after only like a month of use. Instead, I'm going to have to give it to the NYX Epic Ink. I have tried a couple of NYX liners in the past and I just really hate them. The matte liquid liner, I don't understand how people like this liner. It is so clumpy. It just like leaves your eyes like dry and cakey and a clumpy mess, and I just like I hate it so much. I was very reluctant to try another NYX liner, but the Epic Ink, it contends with Fenty. I repurchased the Smashbox one a couple of times too. This one's better. It glides better. It's got a better applicator. It's just a finer tip, but you can still make a nice big chunky wing. It's at the drugstore. That's just, it's a no-brainer. Mascaras. Lights Camera Lashes will always be my favorite. I've tried so many drugstore high-end Tarte wins every single time. I keep coming back to this formula. I think it has something to do with the wand. It's not super thick and fat and chunky, so it doesn't get all over my lids, which is always a huge problem for me because they protrude. The formula is not too liquidy, but it's also not too thick and clumpy. I tried out the Kush mascara this year. It's so heavy and it's so thick and it's so chunky, and the applicator is just so enormous that you just can't help but get it all over your eyes. So for precision and also for buildability, is that a word? You can layer this mascara and it won't get out of control, but it'll keep your lashes separated, but give you enough volume that you can go without lashes. It's just far and away the best formula of mascara that I've tried across the board. Brow products. There have been a lot this year. I do go back to Dip Brow every now and then, just sometimes I want a pomaded brow. But for everyday use, the easiest and quickest for me would be a micro pencil. I've tried a few micro pencils this year. I can say without a doubt that the Benefit Precisely My Brow is still my favorite. It's the one I keep coming back to. Anastasia makes a pretty good one, but for the price and also for the amount of product you get and also the component itself, Benefit just kind of has cornered the market on brow products. It feels good in your hand. It's not too light. It doesn't feel like it's gonna just snap, which is usually the problem I have with other micro brow pencils. They just feel so flimsy. The spoolie on the end is great. The Anastasia one breaks on me, it just snaps off. I think it's like a pretty cheap component, which is kind of upsetting because it is such an expensive product. You know you're getting your money's worth with this. It's not too waxy, but it's not too soft. So it glides on, but it doesn't become a huge mess. So you're still able to create that precision in the tail end of your brow. And I can usually use this to build a brow and not have to go in and cut with concealer. As far as everyday use, Precisely My Brow is the best one. I mean, as far as freckles go, we all know, no contest, it's Freck, obviously. Everywhere I go, people always ask me if my freckles are real, and some people are really surprised when I say no. Now, lip products, two formulas stand out to me. For price point, you can't really go wrong with Colourpop. Their Ultra Satin Lip is the one I want to recommend. I've tried 3 different shades this year, and across the board, the Ultra Satin Lip is a pretty decent formula, and for the color range that they offer. My other favorite lip formula of 2018 is definitely up there in price, and I was super skeptical at first, and I kind of wanted to buy it just to sort of test it out and make sure it wasn't anything special. However, I was proven horribly wrong, and that's why I have to give it to Fenty. The Stunna lip paints are exactly that. They're stunning. They're lightweight, comfortable, long wearing, not over drying. They keep your lips hydrated. They dry down matte. They're not completely transfer proof. As far as comfortability and longevity, this is the most beautiful formula, hands down. The colors that she's curated are just so beautiful. This red looks good on everybody. I don't know how that works, but the undertones are just so perfect. This has been my favorite red lipstick of life. I don't think that's gonna change anytime soon. The other favorite I have to shout out is Unbutton, and she has 3 different nudes for different skin tones. Fenty Beauty has always been a huge proponent of being available available for every single skin tone out there. Fenty Beauty also makes the most stunning lip gloss that if I'm in a glossy mood like I am today, which is what I'm wearing, in conjunction with a lip pencil, the Make It Forever Artist Color Pencil in Versatile Chestnut. On its own it's stunning, on top of a lip pencil it's stunning, on top of a lipstick it's stunning. Of course, if you don't want to wear any lipstick at all and you just want to wear something that is hydrating, that is going to keep you comfortable all day, that is going to nourish your lips, my favorite thing is the Clarins Instant Light Lip Comfort Oil. I could go on forever about how beautiful this lip gloss is. I think it smells gorgeous and the applicator is just the coolest. It's this like little flat doe foot. It doesn't budge. It's a lip gloss that doesn't actually move, which is crazy. And it also will sink into the lips over time and just give you like the most comfortable, thirst quenching hydration. It is the best. We all know that Urban Decay All Nighter is the best setting spray and will always be forever and ever. There's not really a whole lot that can compete with it. The spray that I've been using when I don't want 24-hour protection is the Mario Badescu facial spray with aloe, herbs, and rosewater. This one is perfect for when you need a refresher. It smells delightful. It leaves your makeup looking a little bit more dewy than All Nighter, but if you want a spray that gives you a bit more of a dewy finish, Mario Badescu has you covered. I've been using the lavender one at night. Right before I go to bed, I spray this all over my face and my neck and even in my hair. It just has like the most soothing smell. Obviously lavender is very calming. It's got chamomile in it too, so it feels like really calming on my skin. Lashes, obviously, Rouge and Rogue. Find me a better lash for that price that's vegan and cruelty free. I dare you. Specifically Luminaras. I'm wearing them today. They're absolutely stunning. They're also way more comfortable than any other lash I've ever used in my life. Obviously, the It's Likely makeup collection is sold out and will not be coming back. I just wanted to shout out probably my most favorite brush of the collection, and that is the Pro 4F, which is their flat top foundation brush. And I never thought I'd be a brush foundation kind of person, but this is the thing I reach for the most out of my sponges, my Clarisonic. This is the thing I use every single day when applying foundation. It's fast, it's easy, it works, it doesn't leave me streaky. I know they don't have the It's Likely makeup collection anymore, but they do sell this separately and also in a couple of other different brush sets, just in a different color scheme. So that concludes all of my favorites from 2018. It's not the largest list of things, but it is the stuff that I can rely on to work day in, day out, and I never have to worry whether or not they are going to perform well. And a lot of the stuff is drugstore, it's affordable, which also, you know, gets me super jazzed. Also makes me feel less bad loving it because then I can tell you guys about it and you guys can also enjoy these products that are, you know, really affordable and that won't break the bank. Unfortunately, last year there were a lot of products that I did try that I ended up really loving, but because of the companies being extremely problematic, I can't in good conscience promote them on my channel. Just really disappointing because, you know, I purchased these products with my own money thinking like they'd be perfect to talk about and to play with and to get creative with, and then like upon further investigation, these brands and the people fronting the brands are just like people I don't want to support. And it's really too bad because the things that I did end up purchasing before I knew the entire story, some of them were really, really good. It's just kind of disappointing that I have to keep mum about them because I'm not willing to give them any more promotion than they already have. But there are lots of great companies. These brands are great. Their products are great. On that note, I'm going to close out this video. My voice is starting to get really hoarse. I don't usually talk this much in a video. I hope this wasn't an absolute snore fest. I hope that you enjoyed me talking about my favorite products from 2018. Give this a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment down below if you agree or disagree with my opinions on my favorite products. If you've tried some of these products before and they did not work for you, I would love to know. If there's any recommendations you want to throw my way that I can test out in the new year, let me know. Tell me everything you want me to try out, and if I haven't talked about it before, or if I've never even seen it in my life, I will buy it, I will test it out for you. Hit me up with those recommendations. Also, comment down below what you want to see from this channel in 2019. I'm absolutely open to any and all suggestions. This video was a recommendation from a friend, so thank you so much for giving me the idea to talk about my favorite products. Always let me know if I'm going in the right direction, if you want to see more of this, less of that. Should I do more chatty videos? Should I eliminate chatty videos entirely? Should I do more reviews? Should I do more tutorials? Before my camera battery dies again, I am going to get the fuck out of here, go see a movie, eat some popcorn, enjoy the rest of my evening. I hope you do as well. Let's start off the new year with some positivity and be kind and be generous to everyone you meet out there in the world today. And hopefully I will see you on the next one. Bye guys.